Could fantasy rugby finally be making its way to the MLR? Well, we're about to find out. The Fantasy Ruckers Show starts right now.
Where rugby and the world of fantasy sports collide. Welcome to the Fantasy Ruckers Show, bringing fantasy rugby to the masses, talking all things rugby from the MLR to leagues around the world. We're on top of it. Headphones on, pads off. This is the Fantasy Ruckers Show. Now, here are your hosts, Ryan Yee, Matt Yee, and Devin Vanderpool.
What's up, everybody? This is episode number 1 of the Fantasy Ruckers Show, and we are here to answer the question on whether or not we, the Fantasy Ruckers, can bring fantasy rugby to the MLR. We also got a lot of other stuff to talk about. We're going to talk about how the 2021 MLR season ended, and also, new season, new fantasy league, new fantasy players, meaning new fans, and we have one of those new fans here on our show that's going to be with us all season long. So let's talk about those guys. They're going to be with me all season long. Matt Yee, Devin Vanderpool. Guys, are you ready to talk some fantasy rugby?
Oh, yeah, man. Super excited.
Oh, yeah.
Super excited to watch something other than just the All Blacks do the haka. And super excited to add another championship to the old belt. We got some hockey. We got some football. Throw in some rugby. Let's go.
No. Let's remember, nobody's doing the haka here. You can't pick anybody on how well they do the haka, all right? All right, there's none of that. And, hey, I just want to also say, Vandy might be the newest rugby fan, but MLR is getting a new fan in me because I'm going to be tuning in. I'm going to be keeping close to the season this year because I am going to be the champion of this Fantasy Ruckers Rugby League.
Champions don't talk, they do. All right?
I'm going to do both.
Talk, they do.
I'm going to do both.
And as you can see, the heat is already on for this Fantasy Ruckers Rugby League, and we'll explain what that is all about in just a moment's time. And you can easily tell that, obviously, Devin Vanderpool is the new rugby fan, and we're going to be showing him the ropes throughout this episode and also throughout the season, as many people like Vandy are going to be experiencing the MLR for the very first time, and we want to encourage new fans coming from other sports, using their passion for other fantasy sports like fantasy football, which Vandy is a very, very good player at. He's going to make his way to fantasy rugby, see what he can do. But before we get into any of that, we need to explain the league to the people. And I think that's the best way to kind of figure out, hey, should I be trying to join this thing? What should be going on here? And yes, you'll be able and have a chance to join this league and compete with these two fools here. We're going to be posting on socials for people that are interested in joining a test fantasy rugby league. And there are going to be some bumps along the road. There are going to be some challenges, but that's all the fun with it. We're just trying to have fun with this. We're trying to digest rugby in a new way. And I think it should be a lot of fun heading into this 2022 MLR season.
Just also want to just throw in there a quick
for me,
plug.
not for anyone else.
You'll be joining a league run by one of the best commissioners.
Oh, there we go. No, Vandy, come on. You got to be come on. Show me some love here, man. You know our fantasy football league is one of the top commissioned fantasy football leagues. And I'm here to bring that same ideology, that same hard fist ruling mentality to the Fantasy Ruckers Rugby League. Come on, man. You got to show me some love here.
Yeah, some call it hard work and some call it a dictatorship. I just come here for W's.
No.
He's a player's commissioner. I just come here for
W's. I just come here for the W's, and I leave the politics to these guys.
How do you think you
All
get
right.
those
Well,
W's,
if you're listening out there,
honestly though, great commish. Not such a great participant in Matt, but hey, don't worry about that.
If you're listening out there, you can believe whoever you want to believe. But yes, I will be commissioning this brand new league. I've been working on it for the past half a year or so, trying to come up with this format for people to enjoy. But the main goal here, and I think that's the thing that we need to make clear to everyone listening out there, the goal here is not to create a brand new fantasy platform that can be digested by thousands and replace something or give something to the people that is going to be the next generation thing for the MLR. That's not the case here. Here, we're just trying to create and generate the interest in fantasy rugby, create a fun league, with the resources that I have available to me, because I'll be honest with you, commissioning or creating something any bigger than this league would be something that only a crazy person to do. And I've been already told 1,000 times that me taking on this project and tallying the stats and creating the forms that I've created to try to make something here without having any app developing background or platform developing background. It's just for us to have fun with it, and it's to tie over that fantasy rugby craving that we all have. I've seen on the social sites, I've seen on Reddit, I've seen on Twitter, people asking for fantasy rugby, but we just haven't had that there yet. So this is kind of the bridge. You can listen to this podcast. Hopefully maybe you can join the league and compete against Matt and Devin to see here. Maybe you can take some of that chirping chops here and go out there and win the inaugural Fantasy Ruckers Fantasy League. But it's going to be a lot of fun, and I think that's the biggest thing that I want to get across. It's to satisfy that craving, not necessarily create something that's going to last for the future.
Yep, and Ryan, I'm indeed telling you again that you are crazy for doing all this stats.
Little bit. Give credit where it's due. You deserve it because you are crazy, my man.
We appreciate the dedication.
Yeah, I ain't got time for that.
Whoever joins it, you're going to be damn lucky to be part of the first of something special.
And I'm not tooting my own horn here, but I am saying I have spent a lot of late nights here watching MLR games, tallying up those stats, trying to see what formats and what things would work. And I think I've narrowed it down to something that's going to be at least adequate for the 2022 season. And of course, throughout the year, we're going to have input from league members and input from you out there on social as well. When we put out polls, when we ask questions, we want to hear from you, the fantasy rugby community that we're trying to create, to develop those rules with us. So when a fantasy platform does come around for us to use, we can all hop on it. And we've already created a fantasy rugby community that can help each other out and win some chips along the way.
Only one person winning chips here.
Yeah. Clarify that, buddy.
All right. Well, I've heard that a lot so far. I've heard a lot of chip winning, but these guys don't even know the rules yet. So let's get into those rules on how the format is going to be. So on top of these two fools here that are going to be joining the league, there's going to be 6 others that we're going to fill as well. We're going to reach out on social media to see who may be interested. Follow us at the Fantasy Ruckers on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, and everywhere else, on YouTube as well. And you'll be first to know when we release that. And also staying up to date with the league itself. It's mainly created for the league members to kind of stay up to date with all the different rankings and things like that, and waiver ads and so forth. But hey, if you're just interested in following a fantasy league, here's the where to do it. And the Fantasy Ruckers are going to be here for you to satisfy that. So let's get into it. There's going to be 8 teams. Like I said, it's a smaller league. I know, Vandy, you're used to more, I guess, 12-team, 10-team leagues in fantasy football. But considering the fact that the MLR, who only has 13 teams, who will be introducing to you later on in the show, I think it's only feasible, when I was going through the numbers, to have 8 teams, to not wash out that whole talent pool. What is your perspective on that in terms of your experience with fantasy football as well? You think that's a good way to go?
Yeah, I think it's actually a really good way to go. I mean, like we got that fantasy football league between yourself and Matt, and I think with the 8-man, it makes it the draft that much more important. Waiver wire might not be that important, but the draft is very important. And however we're gonna do that, I mean, you really have to know your stuff, because you can really fall behind in small man leagues if you're not on top of it.
Hey, and the nice thing about it is that, all 8 of us are going to have competitive teams. All 8 of us are going to have, a team full of pretty good players, and no one's going to be stuck with anybody in that, maybe isn't playing one week to the next. We're going to all have pretty competitive
teams. I don't know how
here.
frequent injuries are in rugby, but if it's anything like football, I'm screwed off the hop just based off of that.
Hey, the knees are stronger here in the MLR, right?
Yeah.
The knees are stronger.
I would hope so.
There we go. Stronger knees. That's one way to intrigue the new fans. Stronger knees in the MLR than the NFL.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first.
There's
Exactly.
No Detroit Lions trying to eat them up.
So yes, 8 teams. You got a point there, guys. I think it is going to be a little bit more, I guess, talent-wise spread out amongst the 8 teams. So teams will have more talent on their rosters. But then again, I've never played a fantasy rugby sport, so who knows if it's going to be that way like fantasy football. Let's break it down into the positions now. People out there are probably wondering, what are the positions going to be like? And I think before I go any deeper into this league, I need to explain the difference between this league and other fantasy rugby leagues that we've seen in the past, that weren't part of the MLR, but that I have seen in many overseas leagues like Super Rugby, Top 14, and leagues like that. Six Nations as well. I know they do every time around when that tournament and gameplay comes. They usually follow a style that I've seen more in European sports. The Premier League, when it comes to soccer, follows this format, and it's more of a rotisserie style format with a salary cap. You select a team, all the players are available to you. You're essentially just trying to maximize your points week in and week out. It's a good fantasy league, and Matt, you can jump in here with having played English Premier League fantasy as well, and having been in some of those English style leagues or European style fantasy leagues when it comes to rugby. For me, it just doesn't create that same competitive head-to-head nature as North American style fantasy sports like fantasy football, which we are going to try to apply here in our fantasy league and see if it works and can translate into the game of rugby, which I think it can, considering the similarities between it and football.
Yeah, you know what? I think the one thing with the Premier League is that I always find myself forgetting about it because I don't have to make trades. I don't need to really focus too much on waiver wires. I mean, I selected a good team. Everybody's available to me. It's not like I ever selected a bad player. It's so much easier to just have that team and stick with it all year. But once you have to draft a team, I mean, somebody else could take the guy you really wanted. But in Premier League, you can get the guy you really want. And here, you know, you're gonna have to stay on top of things. You're gonna have to be on the waiver wire to see who's performing well, who's not performing well, and you're gonna have to reach out to other people to make trades. And it just adds a whole new dimension. And that's what keeps pulling me back to fantasy football.
That's a solid point.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, Vandy. And if you're not aware, more in that European style fantasy sport kind of format, you're more competing against the salary cap and also just trying to at least maximize your efficiency because guys have the same amount, or I should say the same top player. So it's not necessarily the top players that are going to win you weeks. It's going to be those low guys that you had no clue. And I guess it's the same for fantasy football. You have those sleepers, but you know, big time players are going to get you those points on top of and an advantage over other teams, where in this European style fantasy format, you don't have that same advantage because the chances are many teams have those top players on their roster. So I think it's going to add a little bit of a competitive element. With that being said, let's get into it. So we understand the big differences now in our league. We're going to go with the North American style. It's going to have a draft, which is like good point, Matt. It's a big difference between this format and the fantasy rugby formats that we've seen in the past. And there's going to be waivers, and there's going to be positions that we're going to have to fill out and draft for, which I will go for you, or I will go over right now. So from the forward standpoint, we're going to have 4 open slots. We're going to have a front row position, so that can be any prop or hooker, a second row position, so it's going to be a lock, a back row, so it can be any flanker or 8-man, and then you're going to have a forward flex spot, so that can be any forward from any of those positions in that spot, whether you want it to be a prop, whether you want to be a hooker, whether you want to be a lock, 8-man, flanker, doesn't matter. You can slot it into that flex spot. And I think that's going to be really interesting to see, because as I was watching games, you can kind of get a feel of what positions kind of have the highest chance of scoring points on a weekly basis. So it'll be interesting to see how that changes strategy when you have an open flex spot to put any forward position into that spot. What is that position going to lean to as we go on through the season?
And my mind is already turning right now. I already know, but I don't want to give too much away to Vandy over there. You know? I can't let him in on the secrets over here.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting strategy going throughout. I have a say, and me being the commissioner, and I don't think I mentioned this at the start, I will not be participating in this league. For me to be a commissioner and for me to do it fairly, I will not be able to participate. I will just be facilitating things. I will be the moderator, if you will, throughout the season so that things don't get too hot between these two. But then again, we also have 6 other people competing that will be interesting as well. So let's go into the back positions. We're going to have the scrum half and fly half position combined into one. I had a hard time kind of going back and forth between this. But when it comes to points, both of these positions were somewhat similar. And I just don't think that there's enough scrum halves and fly halves in the league on a weekly basis that will be starting for everyone to have a solid player at least to have in their starting lineup, or an adequate player to have in their starting lineup. With only 8 teams, I mean, you do the math there: 12 fly halves, 13 fly halves, 13 scrum halves, with the addition of the new team on a playing throughout the week, right?
Love
You're
you
counting.
halfbacks.
Pardon?
Love you halfbacks.
Yeah. So we'll see whether or not if that goes on. Obviously, that we can change that, but I just thought that the talent pool gets too shallow too quickly during the draft, with 8 teams only drafting for, I guess, 26 positions. You can almost compare it to it, Vandy. Imagine if you only had, let's say, 20 running backs that played in the league, and you had a league of 10 teams. You're counting on half of those running backs being adequate in the fantasy. I don't know if that's possible.
Now, is there a high injury rate? Like I mentioned that earlier, and it was more of a joke, but now I question that. Like, are there?
No, definitely. I don't think I would say, man. You can come in on this, but I don't think it's as much as football. Not nearly as much as football.
Not like football.
Yeah, because it's almost like, if you ever did hockey fantasy, to go off topic here a little bit, but if you ever did that, like, it's almost like injuries in football really throw a wrench in your system, but you almost plan for it. And something like hockey, you don't. And that's what's kind of almost nice about it. It's like when those big injuries happen, it's massive. Not like it's not in football, but you almost plan for those injuries. So it'd be cool to see where we go with rugby on that. And
where it's going to be the same though is that if one fly half is out, for example, and you have him on your team and he gets injured, you know that the backup fly half is going to get all of that playing time.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's where it's like fantasy football, where you're going to pick up a running back. He gets hurt. You say, all right, I've got his handcuff.
He's the waiver wire acquisition of the week. Easy.
Exactly, which we will be talking about throughout the year. And we'll make sure to keep all of our league members posted with the top waiver wire ads every single week. And hey, if you're just following along too, you'll get to know kind of what guys weren't on the fantasy radar and now are as we go throughout the season. We'll continue on to the back position. So on top of the scrum half, fly half split position, we also have, you're going to pick one center, whether that's an inside center or an outside center. You're going to pick one back 3 position. So you're going to pick a winger or a fullback. And then again, an interesting piece, there is going to be a back flex. So you're going to be able to pick up either a scrum half, fly half, inside center, outside center, winger, or fullback, and slot him into that flex position. And the same thing applies. I'm curious to see what positions are going to be kind of shifted towards that, because people will want that advantage in their flex spot. It would be like, for example, Vandy, not many people are putting tight ends in their flex spot, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of people are looking to, I know Matthew has this preference. He likes to have a running back in his flex spot because it's guaranteed volume, guaranteed touches. It'll be interesting to see what position kind of correlates to that running back, or what correlates to that tight end. Who are you definitely not putting in your back flex position or forward flex position? And who are you putting there as a points advantage, as a strategy going throughout the season? That'll be an interesting tidbit to find out throughout the
I think
the season.
That'll be actually one of the most interesting things I think to watch about this league, is exactly what some of these people do with that position and kind of what it favors. And I'm excited to actually just see how the flex spot itself works out.
Man, I'm looking forward to the points. How you're going to tell us how you're going to calculate the points, because that changes everything.
Yeah.
What I put in that
it
flex
does
spot
change a lot.
Changes everything depending on how you tell us that you're calculating the points.
No, that is definitely right. And we'll get there in just a second as I round out these roster spots. But yes, how those points are formatted is going to affect that for sure. Now, the big thing is that I've set rules for these scoring formats and these scoring points. Now, those are going to possibly change before the start of the season as we get league members into this league and we start voting on certain rules and kind of getting a feel on how this league is supposed to run, or how it should run. I think we'll have a better idea, but I have put down some points which I think are the best way to go about it. Whether or not that stays the same, we're going to find out. But hey, like I said at the top of the show, or like Matt mentioned at the top of the show, I'm a commissioner of the people. All right. I need to wait till what they have to say, and then we'll get the rules finalized in stone. But until then, all of this is up in the air and open to discussion. So just before we go into the points, like Matt said, let's just round out the rest of the positions. There are going to be a defensive set piece position. So this is similar, Vandy, to a defense that you would choose in fantasy football.
Yep.
In this case, you're choosing a defense, or not so much a defense, but a set piece from a team, which is any scrums or lineouts.
Yep.
And based on their performances, you'll get certain bonuses. Kind of like the defense, like I said, in fantasy football. We'll go over how those points lay out. And I'm curious to see, at least in this point, how big of a difference is it between that top defense versus that top set piece? Because I know some teams were very, very reliant on that set piece versus those bottom teams. How big of a disparity between that? How much of an advantage is it to have those top set pieces in the league? I mean, Vandy, with defenses in fantasy football, at least for my strategy, I just pick streamers week to week. I don't care if I have a big one. If it's a good matchup that I'm picking, but it might not be the same here for fantasy
as far as
rugby.
defense, I kind of like to set and forget.
Hey.
Like I like to, look at like some teams like Dallas. Dallas wasn't even drafted, but you could have picked him up on the waiver wire week 1, and you would have looked like a genius, even if you played him all year.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. I've got a hypothesis. My prediction is that it's gonna be the exact same. You're gonna stream them. You're gonna find a set piece that is gonna be real bad, and anytime that team is facing them, you're gonna want to pick them up and try and pick them up. But here's the other thing: there's only 13 of them. There's 8 guys in the league. There's only 5 of them in the waiver wire. So the minute somebody's dropped, I mean, you're going to be looking to want to pick them up, especially if that team is any better than the team that you have that you drafted or had to draft.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Good points for a guy who's going to come last.
Hey, it sounds like I'm coming first in this league right now. Hey, Ryan,
talk the talk, walk the walk.
Yeah,
and last thing here before we get into the points, there are 5 bench spots for now.
That's my next question.
And that is going to possibly change throughout. So how those bench spots are used by you guys, I'm not too sure. Whether that's handcuffs to guys like you mentioned, Matt, whether or not you pick both fly halves. If let's say you went with the fly half route, you pick both fly halves from one of the teams, then at least you're guaranteed to start. Because I did notice that as I was going through the season as well, watching these games, it's not like football where the quarterback is going to start every single week. Sometimes they don't start the fly half they're starting fly half every single week, even if he's fully healthy. So I think that will be another element that people are going to have to watch out for, which will be interesting. So now let's go to the big question. How are these things going to be statted out? And I know that's the big thing on how the strategies are going to be formulated and how we're going to go. Obviously the big one here at you guys is going to be tries, right? That's the big one. That's like the touchdowns in football. That's what you're gonna be looking for. Now, I will preface this by saying, and we didn't mention earlier when we were introducing the show, but the reason why that fantasy rugby really hasn't caught on, at least in the MLR, is because the availability of resources and stats. A lot of these stats that are required for a very effective and efficient fantasy sports league aren't yet available, at least in a presentable way that we can use to create the top fantasy league that you would be looking for when comparing it to something like fantasy football. Now, with that being put in mind, I've done my best to go through what stats are available to me on a weekly basis, and I've tried to shape a fantasy league around that. Now, as stats become more available and as the MLR releases more things, I'll be able to add more elements to the game. But as of right now, it may seem simple, the scoring system compared to something like fantasy football, but that is going to change over time. And that's why we have this podcast. That's why we want to create a fantasy community, is because we want to have people put their input on what should be measured, what shouldn't be measured, what rules should be implemented and not, and how should we score them out as the league develops over time. So let's get into it. What I've done my best here, and I thought it worked out perfectly, is a lot of the point systems are going to be equivalent to what they are actually worth in the real game. So tries, if you guess, what's it worth?
5 points.
It's got to be 5.
5 points,
Got to be 5 points. So tries are worth 5 points. Penalty kicks, 3 points, 3. Matt. Vandy, yep. Conversions are 2 points.
Yep.
Now, this is where we start getting into the most dynamic things. I'm going to do my best to calculate try distance. So that is going to be once a player touches the ball, the player who scored the try touches the ball. From that point on, he is going to get try distance points. So if he scores a try from the 22-meter line, he is going to get 2.2 points in addition to the 5 that he scored. Makes sense. If, like I said, if someone scores from the 22, they're going to get a total of 7.7 points for that play. I've also introduced try assists, which is going to be the person who touches the ball before the try score. So whoever passes the ball before the try score, and that can either be a pass or a kick, is going to get an additional 2 points.
Okay.
Players are also going to get a half a point bonus if they play 70 minutes or more in the match. They will get a full point bonus if they play the entirety of the match or 80 minutes plus.
How common is that?
Substitutions are made usually. What I actually found surprisingly is there were more 80-minute plus bonuses than the 70-minute plus bonuses. I don't know, Matt, if you can talk on that.
Hey, I think you'll find basically the way it works, Fandy, is that some positions are meant to play full games.
Yep.
Some positions are never going to play a full game. For example, front row.
I feel like wingers.
So wingers generally are subbed out. Less often. But if you look at like a front row usually plays max 50 minutes a game. 50, 60 minutes a game.
They're going through quite a bit they're taking a beating, right?
And they're big boys, so
yeah, they're
so that adds another element because you're gonna have to choose. I mean, if there's a prop or if there's a front row that happens to be playing 70 minutes a game, 70, 80 minutes a game. I mean, every other game.
That's a pickup.
He's got to be a draft, right? He's got to be up there, even if he doesn't score good points. That's what I'm thinking on that.
Well, because then what was 80 minutes? You get 3 points for that?
1 point.
1 point.
1 point bonus.
Half point for 70 plus, right?
Half point for 70. You get anything under 70, you don't get anything. So yeah, that's a very good strategy. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And that's going to be, I think, the theme throughout the entirety of not only this show, but the entirety of the whole season is what strategies are going to be, because no one knows. There's nothing that's established yet. No one knows if the right way is to go with certain position. No one knows if, you should be leaning towards certain plays or not. It'll be interesting to see how people take their own route, and it's these points that are going to dictate that. Let me just add here to round it out. The MLR does introduce something called a bonus point. There is both offensive and defensive bonus points. For an offensive bonus point, if the team scores 4 tries, 4 tries or more, the team gets an additional bonus point in the standings. So I'm going to apply that to our fantasy league here, and I'm going to give the set piece defense that you choose an additional bonus point for scoring 4 or more tries on their team. So there it.
Okay.
Oh, the defense. Very cool.
Let's say you have, and I don't want to reveal the teams yet because we're revealing it to Vandy in just like 5 minutes time here. But let's say one of the teams, scores 4 tries in their match. They don't even have to win. If they score 4 tries in their match, they get an additional bonus point. Now, the defensive bonus point is if they lose within 1 try, so 7 points or less, you get an additional bonus point. The last thing.
So it's the 7. Should it be within 5 for the try, or that's including?
Nope, just got to be 7. Got to be 7 total points. And then the only other thing that's going to be added and why we're introducing the set piece element to this is if a team scores a set piece try, and Matt and I have had conversations about this on what is considered a, quote, set piece try.
Yeah.
That is going to be any try that is directly off of a maul or scrum, and that a player within that maul or scrum scores the try. Now, where that is going to come into play is instead of an assist going to any player, the assist technically now goes to the set piece that you choose.
Or the set piece, yep.
So therefore, your team or the set piece or defense that you draft is going to earn points based on the bonus points
now
and based on the set piece tries that they score.
When you say it has to directly lead to a try, like is there X amount of passes in that, or
No passes.
no passes right
No
out of
passes.
there? Okay,
Yep.
I like yep.
Yep.
Okay.
And you'll understand. And I'm reminding all those out there. Matt is our, I guess, in-house quote unquote rugby expert. He's got plenty of experience playing rugby in club, collegiate. He was even in the Rugby Canada Junior program. And if you didn't know, Vandy is what would we call you? A noob? Are you our fantasy noob? I don't know.
Fantasy noob.
Well, you'll know, but throughout we're planning by the end of this season, Vandy is going to be an expert in not only the MLR but in fantasy rugby in the MLR, and hopefully this time next year he's going to be the one that is giving us or showing us all the things that you need to know about fantasy rugby and the ins and outs. So that's with the points, guys, and
Hey,
I think it's pretty straightforward. Yep.
Let me give you my thought on this set piece try.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to
No,
hear it.
you want to hear it. You want to hear it. I think a strategy, not my strategy. I'm not telling you my strategy. One strategy could be to line up your 8-man or your hooker with your set piece, so that if you know your set piece is really good, I'm gonna get that 8-man and say, all right, I'm gonna get. I know he's gonna score a try off the scrum. I'm gonna get the assist and I'm gonna get the 5 points on the 8-man. Easy 7 right there.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Hey, Matt, you're coming up with all the strategies right now. Whether or not you're giving them away to Vandy, you might be. But
I'm throwing him
he's
off.
probably going to need all the help he can get. But hey, those are some
Keep
very
your strategies.
those are some very good points. And just as we round out the
Don't need
rules
nothing
here,
in any other league.
just as we round out all the other rules, for people to know how it's going to operate, this is all going to be done by hand by me, right? So that is why we only can support the 8 members in this league. We will see whether or not we can go on and maybe introduce it to more people. But as of right now, we only have this one league with 8 people. But please follow us along. We hope to make it bigger. And like I said at the beginning of the show, our goal here is not to create something that is going to be revolutionary so that everyone can use it. We're just trying to buy some time here and satisfy, like I said, that fantasy rugby craving until someone with a whole lot more knowledge and a whole lot more money than me can come along and create something like a ESPN fantasy app for the MLR. That would be really cool.
And hey,
I would love to see it.
Help a brother out.
Yeah.
Give us your stats. Give us your stats. We need them.
There
you know
we
what
go.
Gotta do? We got to get this into a sports book. As soon as there's betting odds, boom, every stat.
And it's funny because the MLR, and you know what's funny is that's probably the very reason why the stats haven't been released out yet. I've heard rumors. They've already come up with a partnership with a betting group. And the reason why I've heard rumors, and this is not, I don't know if this is true. I don't know if this is the reason why, but it's not Bet365.
Give us ad revenue.
It's the reason why they're being so, I guess, protective about their stats is if they send these stats to any of these betting groups, they want to monetize on that. And if that's open to everyone, I don't know if they'll be able to do that. Obviously, football is a much bigger operation than that, and they seem to do it fine. So eventually, I would hope that we'd have some stats. But yes, to Matthew's point, hey, MLR, come on, give us some stats so we can do this a little bit easier, make my job a little bit easier.
365. I know you're
the last thing here, and to be fair, Vandy, I will say, I guess you guys are wondering, Vandy is from Canada, and he's saying Bet365. That doesn't exist here in the U.S. So 12 out of the 13 teams are in the States. So Vandy, take that. All right, none of that. Baby. Now, the last thing that I need to mention I guess a couple things that I need to mention about this league. The last thing, at least from a strategy standpoint, many guys kick. It's not like football where you have one designated kicker position. Any position can kick. Now, after being in rugby, obviously, most of the time, those kickers are going to be a back. I would say 99.9% of the time, unless it's a joke, is going to be a back that's kicking it. But which position out of the backs it is can vary from team to team. That's why I don't want any team to have an advantage because they have a lot of kicking players on their team. So every week you are going to designate one kicker, and only that player's points will count towards your points total if he makes any kicks.
Now that is a kicker already on your roster.
Yes. So you will designate, let's say you got
Okay.
X player on your
Yep.
team. You're going to choose out of the players that kick on your roster,
Yep.
one of them who kicks for points. And now the last thing, because we got to quickly move on to showing that team reveal. And obviously this was the big thing that people wanted to listen to. What is this fantasy rugby? So I hope we explained it well enough for you. We will be clarifying it throughout the season. And make sure you look out for that post online for how to join this league. We have, as of right now, 5 open spots in the league. So 5 lucky of you will be able to be my guinea pigs along with Nat Yee and Devin Vanderpool in testing out this brand new league. And for a little bit of enticement for you out there to join this league, there is going to be an incentive. And that incentive is going to be $100 for a charity of your choice. Why not do some good, guys, right? Why not do some good while having a little bit of fun on the way? So whoever wins this inaugural Fantasy Ruckers League is going to win $100 for their charity of their choice. And we also have another little tidbit. And Vandy, I don't know if we told you this, but there's a lot on the line here for you to play well this season. And that is, if anyone can beat our in-house noob this season and finish ahead of him, we will give an extra $20 on top of that $100 to go to charity for every team that beats Vandy this season. So at most, if Vandy finishes last and there's 7 other people that finish ahead of Vandy, we are paying a total of $240 to charity. So that's the max. So what we are looking for here is we are looking for a big time winner and for Vandy to finish last to do our best for the people.
Just so people are clear, when I do come first, I don't hate charities, okay? I just love winning. So, to even that out, I will double whatever Ryan's contribution is to charity.
Oh, there we go. So, Vandy is going here on the airways right now.
You heard it here.
I didn't know this. I had no idea. But I guess Vandy is going to double it. So, $100 coming from the Fantasy Ruckers pocket is going to become $200?
Yes, sir.
So I guess that's more incentive then for you to not lose this season.
Everybody
because, man,
out the way. I'm a cop car. Let me win. Let charity get the money. Come on, everybody win. Let's go.
Hey, 240 is more than 200.
240 is worth more than 200.
Hey, I'm not coming last either way.
That means if you come last, more is going to charity.
I ain't
That's
coming
what he's
last.
saying. He says he loves charities, but he ain't coming last.
But I ain't coming last.
He ain't coming last. All right. Well, hey, like I said, if any of you want to take part of this league, we're going to be drafting in just a couple weeks. We're going to do I hope a live 3-round draft and then do a slow draft after that. But hey, I guess now, what is it? If I do the math here quickly, 200, 170, $340 could be going to the charity of your choice if you join our Fantasy Ruckers League. And again, we will be posting it on socials at the Fantasy Ruckers, where you will find all the information on how to send us a message if you're interested. And by next week, hopefully, we're going to have a filled out league with 8 members that are just as crazy about fantasy rugby and the MLR as me. And we are going to have a good and fun season. So should be good. And just so people stay tuned, I have come up with another idea on top of the $340 for the guys who do win the leagues as the season goes on. But I'm going to keep that in my back pocket, and I'll introduce that as we get closer to the season so that I don't spoil too much and get you guys too excited to win this league.
Spill the beans.
No, I can't do that yet. Gotta stay tuned on a few more episodes. Again, at the Fantasy Ruckers, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Hit us up there if you're interested in joining this league. We'll be able to hear all of your messages and see all your messages and hopefully come together with 5 other amazing and passionate fans just like us who are excited to keep this fantasy rugby thing going in the MLR and hopefully eventually, like we said, make it a reality. So let's move on here now to the fun part that I've been waiting all week long for, and that is to finally introduce the MLR team to Vandy. But we've come up with a new segment here to get Vandy's rugby taste buds going. I'm going to find a social media video that's been going viral or trending in the rugby community, and I want to get Vandy's reaction. So he has it in front of him. I'm going to switch out here so that everyone can see what we got. And this is the video. We'll get Vandy to show it. Here we go. We'll play it once again for you guys listening at home. This is let me see here. This is Roscoe Speckman, who has made a South Africa Sevens appearance. He's won a bronze medal in Rio for them. And I believe this is at a Toyota Cheetah's training session. And look at that.
Now,
stepping him. Look at that guy. Yeah. And hey, I'll preface this by saying, Vandy, this guy's coming off of that's why he's looking at his knee right there. Yeah. He's coming off of a full a knee injury. And he's like, hey, it's like I never left.
I'll have you know, in football, I have a guy who was also dealing with a major knee injury, and I can tell you it didn't heal well.
No, he didn't do this after. He didn't
do this after. And if anyone wants to see this video, it's of Roscoe Speckman absolutely stepping out a guy at training session. It's on his Instagram
I think
page.
He blew out the other guy's
magic.
Knees.
Yeah, he might have. You come back from one injury causing another. Yeah. Man, this is crazy. But yeah, we're gonna show you highlight videos like this all season long to get you excited. And you're gonna see steps like this hopefully in the MLR this season.
I'll show you steps.
It's going to be a good one. All right, so let's get into it. MLR team reveal, and I think this is gonna be the first time here. And for those of you watching on YouTube, we have a tier page for Vandy to see all of the logos, but we're going to be ranking them in 5 different tiers. And I'm bringing back a little bit of our college days here, Vandy. We're going to have the way I've tiered this is a little bit interesting. Back into our League of Legends days. For any logo to reach that top tier, it's going to be God tier.
Yes,
it's got to be God tier. It's got to be unstoppable.
Yes, sir.
All right, so make sure you're keeping that in mind when you're looking at these logos. We have damn, those jerseys are nice. We got that in the second segment. Hey, we got solid jerseys, got mad jerseys. And
so am I going off the logo?
One. We got the last one. Get those out of here. So we got that, and we got those tiers there. So we're gonna rank. We're gonna go through each of these teams. And Vandy, this is the first time that you're seeing these logos.
Yes, sir.
And we're gonna go through the way that they're displayed on the MLR website, and we're gonna go through each of them, give you a little background of each team as we go through the entire thing. At the end, you're going to rank them, and we're going to try to get you to power rank these teams based on their logo and compare that when we go through the 2021 recap. See how close you got.
We'll see whether or not God tier.
Whether or not there's a correlation to the good looks of a logo to how they actually finish the season. Who knows?
So
but we're about to
judge a book by its cover, Ryan. Wow.
We're about to find out. And yeah, this is exactly that, judging a book by cover.
Ryan.
So let's go into it. Before we start, Vandy, going to give you a little bit of a history lesson here about how the MLR started. The idea of the league started in 2016, but it wasn't until February of 2017 where 9 amateur teams announced their intentions to create a professional rugby league in North America. And those teams included the Austin Huns, the Dallas Griffins, the Glendale Raptors, the Houston Strikers, a club in Minneapolis. No, so these are not the teams that are listed there. Just wait. This is the history lesson.
I'm like, none of these logos add up.
The New Orleans RFC, Rugby Utah, and the Seattle Saracens. Now, a couple of those teams rebranded, as some of them didn't end up joining the league. But then in November of 2017, in the year of 2017, the MLR announced that it was finally going to establish something, and it was in 2018 where they had their very first season with 6 of the 13 teams that you see there on your screen. One of them has since left. That team leaving was the Colorado Raptors. They had left the league.
Bad.
Now this team is this league is comprised of 13 teams heading into this year. 7 teams in the Western Conference, 6 teams in the Eastern Conference. The top 3 teams of each conference make it into the playoff. 2 and 3 play each other, and then they go into the semifinal and then the final. There is no relegation or promotion like the leagues in Europe. And now let's get into those teams. So the 7 original teams, if you can see my mouse here, Vandy, we got the Austin team from Austin, formerly known as the Austin Elite. The Glendale Raptors are no longer in the MLR. We have the Houston SaberCats right here, the San Diego Legion, the Seattle Seawolves, and the Utah Warriors, and the NOLA Gold. So those were the 7, I guess, quote-unquote, original teams. The very first game was played between the Houston SaberCats and the NOLA Gold on April 21st, 2018. It started out with 7 teams, excuse me. It's now gone up to 13. Just showing you and exemplifying how fast this league is growing. It's only going into its 5th season. So let's get into it. So we got the Austin Gilgronis. So we got this one here. The AG, the Austin Gilgronis.
What do you think
the
of that?
Gilgronis. And let me explain to you why.
That's a whole lot of meh already.
Yeah. Let's go in, and I'm going to bring you why these teams were called the Gilgronis.
Gronies, because they're a bunch of jabronis. Meh.
That's just waiting for it to be asked here. Hold on one second here.
You played yourself.
I did play myself. Just looking for these pictures here. Hold on as I get in.
What are you giving me? Or jerseys?
You don't even want to see.
Yeah, we're getting here. So here we go. So main logo, we got the Austin Gilgronis. All right, this is their main logo. They were founded in 2017, originally called the Austin Elite. There was a temporary time where they took a vote to figure out what they wanted to be called. So they voted and they turned to the Austin Herd for like a few months.
Dummies.
And then at the end, they were bought out by a man named Adam Gilchrist, an Australian entrepreneur. He bought the team in 2020. And you'll know this with another team in this league. He also surprisingly owns another team in this league. So he owns 2 teams.
Selfish.
He is naming his
Try that martini glass logo.
He's facing his teams on a cocktail name. He came out with a cocktail name called the Gilgronis, and that's why they're called the Austin Gilgronis. So Gilchrist is coming up with a cocktail called the Gilgroni. And what's American capitalism at its finest? The naming a rugby team that you own after it. They play out of Bold Stadium. There's actually, Vanny, you'll be interested in this. There's a 6-part docuseries, kind of like what's it called? Hard Knocks on HBO. They actually did it for the Austin Gilgronis. So you can watch a 6-part series and find it's called Inside the Scrum. And you'll be able to watch that. I think I'm going to tune in and watch that. It looked pretty interesting. But let's have a look at these guys' kits. 2021 home kit. There we go.
Comes with a mask.
Yeah. They look like
orange looking. You got the white collars. I think it's pretty plain. I mean, you got the Lone Star Texas State on the crest. Here's a look at their away jerseys.
You know what this screams? Selfishness by this Gilchrist guy.
You know what this screams? Netherlands. You know what the Netherlands always do? Choke.
Here,
boom.
Oh why is it okay? All right, so you don't need to see any more. And then here's their 2022 schedule for people to see. Some interesting matchups there. I will mention, Vandy, on the, I believe, April 3rd, Sunday, April 3rd, there's a thing called the Texas Cup. It doesn't get any bigger than the Texas Cup, and that's when the Austin Gilgronis play the Houston SaberCats. So that's always a big matchup. That's happening on April 3rd, which is fun. So let's move on to the next teams, but let's get a ranking here first by Vandy. So you saw the teams and the jerseys and the names and the logos. Where's that going?
For AG?
For AG, for the Austin Gilgronis.
Leave her there.
Leave her there. It's just meh. Okay, so Vandy's first team, first logo just goes meh a little bit. All right, so let's move on to let's try to move on to the other team here. The Dallas Jackals. So this is an interesting one. This is the expansion team heading into the 2022 season. They play out of Arlington, Texas, out of Choctaw Stadium. Their home is the former home of the MLB team, Texas Rangers, before they moved to a new stadium. Matt, I don't know how I feel about rugby teams playing in baseball stadiums. They've done it in the past for the MLR, and it looks kind of weird. It's hard viewing lines by the stands, but we'll I guess, see that throughout the 2022 season. But, yeah, here are their logos, Vandy. The main logo looks pretty nice.
Yeah,
the Dallas Jackals.
Good-looking logo.
Pretty modern. I love the color of it.
I'm sure
you
the
got
jerseys are
their white
slick.
main logo here.
Oh, that's
as
slick.
well.
Yep,
looks pretty cool.
I like that.
And here we go. Their 2022 kit. So this is the kit that they're going to be wearing this season. Here we go.
Ooh.
Okay.
That's the kit. You got the little gradient here. You got the teal. It's looking pretty nice.
Okay.
This looks like the stock jersey you buy.
Yeah.
The stock jersey.
The stock jersey you make on any video game.
Yeah, straight up.
Yeah.
That's
Now,
that.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I guess we'll
like
see where that ranks it.
That Dallas Stars all green jersey in the NHL. Looks like a puke.
Okay.
Looks like a 12-year-old designed it.
You just said it looks nice.
This one does.
Yeah, so why are you saying that a 12-year-old designed this?
Because I'm disagreeing with Matt.
He's talking about a talented 12-year-old.
Yeah, okay, 12-year-old.
Or are you saying the Gilgroni's jersey was designed by a 12-year-old? Which one are you saying designed by a 12-year-old?
The Dallas Stars jersey.
Okay. All right. So I don't know what Matt's saying. He's saying that it's some reason it's
Matt's drunk.
I think
Matt's
they look
drunk.
pretty
Give
nice.
me the tier list. Give me the tier list.
Here we go. A detailed concept kit. Here's a better one.
Ooh,
with
dude,
the jerseys.
I like those jerseys.
And then it's a concept. I get it. It looks a little bit stock because it was a design. And if you guys listening at home, it was the concept jerseys that the Dallas Jackals released. So I did, Matt, get someone who is actually wearing a jersey before you went on a tangent. And that is, here we go. Got good old Chad London, who decided he will be coming back to play for the Dallas Jackals in their inaugural season. I'll zoom that up for you a little bit.
Way to go,
Chad. He is a center for that team. He made his Eagles debut, his USA Eagles debut in 2014. That's him there. But hey, that looks like a pretty nice jersey. I like it.
Good looking jersey.
I like the colors. So Vandy, where are you ranking the Dallas Jackals? And I'll remind you, it's not just the logo. Take everything that I've told you here into account and rank them.
So this tier list, just to double check, is where I think they finish in the season too, right? Like
No,
just based off kits?
Based
and
off
logo?
kits, based on your logos, and then we'll see whether or not you want to make changes afterwards.
Tentatively put that in damn.
All right, Dallas Jackals.
I like that kit. Yeah.
Damn. All right. Damn.
Yeah.
So apparently it's a stock-looking jersey for Matthew, but it's a damn good-looking jersey for Vandy. All right, let's go on to our next one, San Diego Legion. So that's this red one down here.
San Diego,
for you guys listening.
Have the Chargers there. Chargers suck. Kansas City's
for
best.
you guys listening, it is the SD logo that they have, and I'm gonna pull up the logo here for Vandy to see a full one. And here we go. Here's their kits. This is what their kits look like heading into the 2020 versus 2021 season. So on the left there, with the red and then the white. That is their 2020 kit.
That's
and then the black and the gray is the 2021 kit. Here's the logo that they have. Pretty simple logo.
Okay,
red
I like
and black.
the logo, but the jerseys are whack.
It's simple. Here's an example of people wearing them. I think it looks nicer when people are on it rather than the concept. But I don't have a picture of that gray one. I'm not a fan of the gray San Diego jersey. But that black one doesn't look too bad. It's simple, and it's nothing special.
Hey, the last year's jersey looked like the Dallas Jackals just took it and put it on different colors.
Straight up.
Hey, it's just people helping people in the MLR.
There you go.
So, Vandy, where are we going? San Diego Legion, where's that going?
San Diego, like the Chargers suck. Get out of here.
Get those out of here. All right, so it stays in the get out of those out of here. You don't like the jerseys. You don't like where they're from?
The jerseys look like 4
like
different teams. Like, you literally could insert 4 different teams there and be like, yeah, this is their starting jersey. No.
All right.
Get them out of here.
And just as a little background for those of you interested in the San Diego Legion, they play out of the University of San Diego at Torero Field. They were founded in 2017, one of the original founding teams. And an interesting tidbit here, Matt, I didn't know this, but they are actually partners with the New South Wales Waratahs, a club in Australia that competes in Super Rugby. They have a partnership there too. So, hey, maybe their jerseys don't look as good to Vandy, but their play might be because they're going to have help of a very good professional side overseas.
Hey, let me out-tidbit you. There's a World Cup winner on that team this year.
Is there now?
Let me out-tidbit both you. They're playing for a place called San Diego.
Okay. All right. Clearly, Vandy's never been to San Diego because it's a very, very nice place. Very good Mexican food. Let's move on here. So San Diego,
get on a rail car. Sweet.
Get those out of here. So going on to the next one, we got the Old Glory DC. This has got to be one of my more favorite ones here on this list. The logo looks solid. Let me pull up a bigger screen picture for you here. Main logo, DC. Here we go. The Old Glory DC. They're really
Cormier, double champ, God tier.
God tier.
No, wait.
Wow.
Let me
He
see
hasn't even
jerseys.
seen the jerseys yet.
Give me the jerseys. Daniel Cormier.
What if they're stock-looking jerseys like Matt said? But I love it though. They're incorporating the DC capital and everything. I love it.
No, it looks
here's
slick. That's a good looking
here's
logo.
the let me see here. The 2021 home jersey example. I think these look fresh. Look at the American flag.
Look at that.
I mean,
These look pretty good.
Americans they're whatever, but
we got the
looking jersey.
We got the 2021 away jersey. Still got the American flag on there.
That's actually a slick jersey.
Pretty good. And then we got, here's a guy wearing it, Josh Brown.
Attaboy, Josh.
Attaboy, Josh.
Hey, this is what I'm talking about. Some creativity from these teams.
Yeah, you know, and what? I think you had a good point there, Matt. The Gogronis, Dallas Jack, nothing special we've seen as of yet, but that American flag coming across the side, I think it looks pretty sweet. Now, Vandy, does that stay in God tier for you?
You know what? Like I said, Old Glory DC, Daniel Cormier, double champ. Get that man into God tier.
All right, Old Glory DC, God tier. So they're right now the top logo so far. The next one here, Rugby United New York. They're one of the newer teams. They began its first exhibition season in 2018 and joined the MLR in its second season in 2019. They were part of the second expansion along with the Toronto Arrows. Not quite sure where they play now, but it says online that they still play at MCU Park in Brooklyn. It's a baseball field of a minor league team called the Brooklyn Cyclones. A big thing here, though, is that they have a deal with MSG Networks, which just goes to show you how big the MLR is growing, because that is the network that basically does all the major New York teams, especially the Rangers and the Knicks. They do those as well. So let's bring up the logo for Vandy to look at.
And while you're bringing it up, let's just mention to the people that a secret friend of the show also plays for Rugby United New York.
That is right. A secret friend of the show.
The New York Islanders, because they have the same logo.
They just threw a rugby ball in there.
Oh, sweet.
So you don't like that. You don't like cities incorporating the same colors amongst all its teams, because there is a team that I'm going to show that doesn't. I personally love it. I love that all the team, like I can rep all the same colors.
Ryan, the teams. Are you ranking the teams or am I?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying that thing. I think it's a pretty solid logo. But to Matt's point, before Vandy cut him off, there is a friend of a show that does play for Rugby United New York. And hopefully we can get him on soon to give us the inside scoop on Rugby United New York. But that is for a later time. But make sure you're out there following the Fantasy Ruckers to hear when that does come down. But here's the logo, Vandy. Rugby United New York. We got the logo there.
Hey,
the jerseys are pretty.
You know what it looks like?
The jerseys are pretty cool looking.
Jerseys are better than the logo.
It looks like the Yankees logo was placed in a Mets color.
All right, so even better. You're incorporating all the New York teams. I think that's great. I think that's fantastic.
Why? Because you guys live there?
No, not at all. Not at all. Here's the away jerseys. Here's the home jerseys. I love these jerseys. The text in there for all of you listening
on there is slick.
The text is all the boroughs of New York.
Okay.
So you can see on there. You see Harlem in there. You see Parkchester. You see Crown Heights. You see all the boroughs of New York written in that text. I think that's a really cool way to bring in that local aspect of it. Here's a bigger logo or a bigger one of those jerseys. And then they also have that secondary logo too.
That was so much better.
You'll see on occasion.
Way better logo.
I saw this logo earlier on, but it seems like they're shifting towards the other logo. So Vandy, who are you placing for the Rugby United New York?
You know what? If they would have stuck with the old logo, God tier. But that's damn. Those jerseys are nice.
Even the jerseys don't do it for you. All right. So where's that in combination with the jerseys?
The jersey saved it from being a meh.
Okay. So where's it going?
It's going damn. Damn. All
right. So you really like the jerseys.
I do really like those jerseys.
All right. Sounds good. All right. So Rugby United New York and the Dallas Jackals in the damn category.
Yes, sir.
Now between those two, where relates? Do you like the Dallas Jackals jerseys more, or do you like Rugby United better? Or as a whole, I shouldn't say just the jerseys, but which one do you like more than the other?
I would say as a whole, if we're talking kit and logo, it's got to be the Jackals.
All right, so Dallas Jackals come first, so it remains the way it is. Let's go on to the next one.
You got to go with 50-50. 50 logo, 50 jersey. The jerseys can't score above a 50. It's got to be the Jackals.
All right, so let's go on to the next one here. The NOLA Gold. New Orleans Gold.
I like the logo.
This is their logo here, as you've
Very
seen,
New
as
Orleans.
I bring on the information here for NOLA. New Orleans, they were founded in 2017, also an original founding member. They competed in that inaugural season 2018. An interesting tidbit here. A minority stake owner for the NOLA Gold is actually ASM Clermont Auvergne, a top 14 rugby team, a very, very notable rugby team in France. They actually are a part owner of the NOLA Gold. Not too sure what that means for partnerships or development or things like that. They play at the gold mine in Louisiana. Here's some kits here, Vandy, for you. Here's their white and gold kit.
Hey, it looks like this guy on the left puked on his shirt after a long night.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Just so you know, they're the same guy. But yeah, okay.
But the guy in the white jersey.
The guy on the left. Yeah, same dude.
But okay, so here are the jerseys. Not too sure if I'm a fan of the stripes coming down, but for you guys listening, it is the white and gold.
Man, if you flip that
coloring,
if you start it from the bottom and raise it up, way better.
It could be pretty nice. And they do have an alternate jersey here. It's kind of like that Harlequin looking split jersey. I like this one way better.
Oh yeah.
Not too sure if they wear this one anymore. And then just bringing it up here, they're another more artistic logo, the NOLA Gold Rugby logo. So Vandy, where is this ranking amongst the teams here? As I bring up, I got to bring up that thing here.
I gotta say, I do dig. I didn't realize the crown was there, but I do dig the crown.
Are you blind?
No, I mean before seeing it today.
Oh, I got. Hey, my bad. You didn't put any context with it, dude.
It looks good. It looks good with the crown, I must say.
All right, so we're putting the NOLA Gold. Where are we putting it?
Honestly, they're just kind of meh.
Meh. Okay, better or worse than AG?
They're better. AG.
Everybody's better than old.
All right, so we got San Diego ranking the worst, which I'm very surprised at. I thought you were going to have the Gilgronis ranked below San Diego, but then we got NOLA and AG.
I'm thinking about it. I'm honestly
Jackals,
thinking about
and
it.
I will give you one more chance at the end of this to reorganize everything at the end. And Old Glory DC still in God tier. Let's go into the next one. This is, I think, one of my favorites in the MLR right now. That is the New England Free Jacks. I swear it's not because of them being associated in New England, because my favorite team being the New England Patriots. It is not that. I just think these jerseys look sick. But here's their logo, kind of going with the old-fashioned kind of look, New England Free Jacks sticks with the whole Boston kind of, patriotic theme. Here's their a different logo, harder to see there. But their jerseys, and Matt, you know this, I am a sucker for jerseys that have really nice collars. I just think that's a staple of really good looking rugby jerseys. So here is the kit, just for an initial look. They got the stripes here. They got the New England Free Jacks logo. They got the collar. You can't really see it here, but when I pull up the players, look at how good those jerseys look. I think the collars look fresh. I think it adds a nice little look to it. Here's the guys playing. I think it looks dope. And just as a small tidbit here, as I fill in some of the founded in 2018, they joined the MLR in 2020, a part of the second expansion. The Scottish Rugby Union actually partly owns this team as well. And they also play at Segra Field in Virginia, who is a home field for a USL soccer side, USL Championship soccer side. This is not that was for Old Glory. The New England Free Jacks were also founded in 2018. But an interesting tidbit is that guess who two minority owners are, and you might know of them: Nate Ebner and Patrick Chung, former New England Patriots. They are They are part owners of the New England Free Jacks, and I got to bring up a picture here for you. Nate Ebner is actually a USA Sevens rugby player. He won. He was in Rio competing for Team USA. He now partly owns as well. He's very largely affiliated with the rugby community. He's been a big reason why there's been this shift of football players moving to rugby. He's been a part of that, and he's one of the examples that you can do it if you put the work in to do it.
Big dude.
So Vandy, where does the New England Free Jacks rank on this tier list?
Yeah, I'll slot them in at solid. Solid logo, solid jerseys.
Nothing special. That's a
Nothing
pretty
special,
good choice there. Let's go on to the next one here as we move along. The Houston SaberCats, also an original founding team, as I bring in the logo. And I think you'll have a little bit of fun with this one. Here's the Houston SaberCats logo.
Okay.
The SaberCats, they are another original founding team, played in the inaugural season in 2018. They have the nicest stadium, I think, out of the bunch. They play at Aviva Stadium. I think it's the only stadium in the MLR that has an actual rugby field, and the listeners and viewers can comment if I'm wrong about that. But I think from what I saw, that's the only official rugby field. And they were an original 7 team, if you will. And here's their logo, the black and yellow SaberCats. Here's their jerseys, the 2021 jerseys. They're pretty slick, pretty.
Those look
pretty
like
cool.
soccer jerseys.
They do look like soccer jerseys a little bit. But here's some examples of guys wearing it. I didn't know it had the camo there. And I think the camo is a nice kind of unique touch.
Yeah.
I know, Matt, what Super Rugby team has the camo in their jersey? I know there's someone that has it to put you on the spot. It might be the Bulls, maybe. I think someone has camo or something in their jerseys. You know what I'm talking about? It's blue and dark, I think. The blues are close, but it's not camo. I know there was a team that had camo in it, but yeah, they're rocking the camo yellow. Here's one of their star players, Sam Windsor, playing or wearing the black jerseys. And just a little shout out to you, Vandy. There was a little bit of jokes as the MLR was first starting. Get this guy suited up. Get JJ Watt in a Houston SaberCats jersey. And obviously, this was when he was still on the Houston Texans. He is now on the Arizona Cardinals. But it is a picture of JJ Watt in a Houston SaberCats uniform. I thought that was pretty jokes. I couldn't even imagine I couldn't even imagine what that guy could do in the MLR.
Yeah, fall down and get hurt.
Which would be pretty cool. I don't know, man. I would beg to differ, dude. Don't get injured as much in rugby. A little bit lighter on the knees and not as hard hitting as football. I don't know. I think
he's got
Watt could
shoulder
be
injuries,
a pretty
chest,
good player.
knee, whatever. Who cares?
All right. So where's Houston SaberCats going, Vandy?
They're solid. Back to back.
All right.
Solids.
He likes the SaberCats. So far, biggest
like
fan of the Old Glory DC logo. Let's go on to the next one here as we move along. Only got 5 teams left as we got to move along this show. We got the team that has just an A as a logo. Probably one of the most simple logos outside of maybe the Ogronies and the Legion. It is Rugby Atlanta. But at the very least, though, Vandy, you might not like their simple logo, which is just a simple Rugby Atlanta with the A. But they are the rattlesnakes, apparently. They're bracing the rattlesnake logo. And I don't know if you notice, but if you take out the UGBY in rugby, the initials spell out rattle. RATL. And I think that is the coolest thing. And they did that on purpose. I think that's awesome. Here are their jerseys. Pretty cool looking. I wasn't able to find anyone wearing them except for these. I think these are last year's jerseys. They look pretty good. Nothing special. They remind me of the other kind of generic jerseys that we've seen, but I absolutely love the branding. I think Rugby Atlanta, they definitely did it on purpose. RATL. I think it's
now that Snake's the secondary logo.
I believe that's what they have on Twitter, but what's on their jerseys is this logo. And that's what they have on the website. But I think you do have to mention that, they have the rattle name.
And what's with these teams and the gradients?
I know they like the dots and they like the gradients.
Yeah, they do. They really do.
But
you know what? Wait on that guy. Go over to Hawaii here.
The next one. Oh, it looks like kind of a Hawaii thing, but no, it is the Utah Warriors. So the Utah Warriors, they were founded. They were one of the original teams as well. They were a club before that was had long history since 2010, but they were originally refounded in 2017, joining the MLR side for their inaugural season. They, I think, have the most interesting jerseys, and Matt, I think, doesn't like this, but I think I'm kind of going on as a fan. But here's their logo first. You just got the simple gray and black, kind of red and white warrior-looking face with the rugby ball in the background for the listeners. And then we got the Utah Warriors rugby on down below. But here are the jerseys, Vandy, and this is where it kind of gets a little bit controversial. They have a number on the front on the home kit. I wasn't a fan at the beginning, but I think it doesn't look too bad. I wouldn't want it to be a big number like football.
If you never pointed that out, that was, I would have never have noticed, and I would have never had any qualms with it. Which
so
I
for you
guess
guys
got
listening,
issues, eh?
So for you guys listening, the Utah Warriors are the only team in the MLR to have a number on the front. It's in between those stripes that come across the chest. Now, what I didn't notice with these jerseys is the detail that's in there with the jersey. You got the mountains, you know, Utah, you got mountains, Utah Warriors. That away one looks sweet. And then you actually got like kind of like a black and red kind of stripe kind of pattern on the shoulders of the home kit. So pretty cool looking jerseys. The numbers on the front can be a little bit controversial, but you know, you take from as well. I know Matt doesn't like
the mountains on the black one. That would have looked slick as well.
Yeah,
it would have looked slick. I guess they didn't want it to be too same. But hey, at least they went away from the gradient.
Thank goodness.
At least they went away from the gradient. So Utah Warriors, Vandy, where are they going?
They're going right behind the Jackals.
Wow. Okay. So he likes the Rugby Atlanta, or excuse me, he is holding on to Rugby Atlanta and loves the Utah Warriors jersey. So right now, Old Glory DC and the Utah Warriors at the top.
No.
Hey,
no, they're going damn after the Jackals.
Oh, okay. Doesn't like God tier. All right. So Old Glory DC.
Hey, God tier is God tier, buddy.
All right. That's fair enough. All right. So we got Dallas Jackals, Rugby United New York, Utah Warriors in the damn column. Old Glory DC still in the God tier mode here. And now let's move on to the 3 teams that we have left. And this is the one that you guessed, Vandy.
The Alcoholics.
Yeah. Well, they're called the Giltinis, the LA Giltinis. And like you mentioned, or like we mentioned at the start of the show, it is owned by the same guy, Adam Gilchrist. He owns this team as well, trying to brand this Giltinis cocktail. So why not call a MLR team it? And they are called the LA Giltinis. Kind of went with a modernized look. I love the colors. I think the Miami Vice colors are so nice, but wasn't able to find concept jerseys. But here is the white jerseys. Here's our boy DTH Vandermeer, Canada. So kind of plain looking, but simple. And then we have the home kit. The biggest problem that I have with these jerseys is the fact that the numbers are the same color and they only have the outline. Yeah. And it looks fine from a design perspective, but when I'm trying to identify guys on the field while I'm watching, I cannot read the numbers. And I have no idea how refs do it. Maybe because they're closer, but it is so hard to look. But that is the LA Giltinis. Like I mentioned, they are owned by Adam Gilchrist, who also owns the Gilgronis, hence the similar names in there. They were founded in 2020. They were one of the most recent expansion teams as part of the MLR before the Dallas Jackals. They play actually out of probably the biggest stadium. I'm not too sure, Vandy, if you remember, but the LA Rams used to play here at the LA Coliseum when they were moving over to that new stadium.
Doesn't the Galaxy also play there?
Possibly. They might play at the new SoFi Stadium now, but they definitely used to. And now the LA Giltinis play at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. So that is pretty cool. Probably the most notable stadiums. It's also the biggest packed, and you notice on TV broadcasts when they play there, they don't even come close to filling out even a portion of the stands. But it is cool to have a professional, one of the MLR's teams playing at a very prominent stadium. I know I tweeted it out about it before. It's pretty sweet. So LA Giltinis, yep.
And the reigning MLR champions.
Well, now you just gave it away, Matt.
Oh,
you just gave it away. So now you know, Vandy, they are the reigning MLR champions. They have a very, very good team, and we'll explain why they have a very good team. But yes, the LA Giltinis, they are there. Where are they going?
Even with that knowledge, they got to get the hell out of here.
Get the hell out of here. So he joins with the San Diego Legion, not liking the modern logo.
It looked like an internet cafe bar.
Yeah.
I didn't know
it does look very... It does look very simple.
No surprise that
they're so far on get out of here. If you could delete that picture off of the ranking tier, that would actually be preferable.
Yeah.
Hey, no surprise. The same owner is the same owner of the two teams with awful jerseys and
I'm thinking about throwing AG down.
Well, the names we know. We know why they have the names.
Yeah.
He's trying to make money off of it. We know why the names are there. Now,
but he's conceded.
Could he done a little bit better on the jerseys? Yeah, maybe. I think he could have done a little bit better on the jerseys. All right, now for a hometown team, Matt or Vandy, a hometown team, the Toronto Arrows. That is where probably the team that is closest to you is going to be. And here is their logo. It's kind of a nostalgic logo, the Toronto Arrows. Arrows RFC. They were founded, I believe, let me check here. They were founded in 2018 and they entered the season in 2019 as with, I believe, was it the, which team was that it joined with? Not Rugby United New York, I believe Old Glory DC. They were founded in 2017, but they entered the league in 2019 for the second season. They play at Lupo Field in Atlanta with the Rattlesnakes during the COVID pandemic, but they are planning on playing elsewhere, hopefully back in Toronto. Fun tidbit about this team, part owner is former general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, Brian Burke. So here we go. Here is the logo. Just the simple white and blue with the T and the A crossing through. And here are the jerseys. I love these jerseys. I especially love the away ones. I think it's a classic looking kind of, obviously, you know that I like the collars, but for you listeners out there, blue and white striped jerseys on the away jerseys for the Arrows, a plain white jersey. Not a fan of the Sunday homes on the Blues. I maybe should preface that by saying that I'm like the away jerseys. The home ones are kind of plain. Here are some guys wearing them. There's our boy Paul Cellini in the back. There's some guys there. And here's the
Buddy was rocking the mullet.
So funny tidbit. He actually went to a high school that was pretty near Matt and I high school. He went up to a school called Denison, and his name is Andrew Quatrin. He's a pretty good player. He's a hooker.
I would bet $5 right now that he could do that trick you see where they lick the bottle, bite the beer cap off, and twist the beer down their throat. I guarantee he could do it.
Hey, maybe we'll have to ask him. We'll have to see.
If you are watching this or have any friends that are going to show you that I said that, please tell me you can do that. I will send you $5.
All right. So Vandy wants to know if Andrew Quatrin can break open a bottle, beer bottle with his teeth. I guess that is a one of the stipulation on whether or not Vandy will draft you in this upcoming league is whether
I've already
or not
drafted
you
him off the mullet.
Open.
Do you want $5?
Bottle with your teeth. So Vandy, with that being said, Brian Burke's the one of the owners. It's your hometown team. Where
he plays in Toronto? I'm getting a hold of that man, and we're gonna drink some beers one time.
Hopefully,
please find me.
Okay. So Vandy, where is the Toronto Arrows going?
Well, I'm glad you guys like the jerseys and the logo because they're a lot of meh to me.
A lot of meh. All right. So Toronto Arrows
not terrible, but yeah.
The Toronto Arrows go meh. Yeah, I mean, it's nothing special. I agree with you. I really love those away jerseys, the stripes on them, and obviously
you're a Leafs
you guys know,
fan,
I love the collars. Yeah, I'm a Leafs fan, but what does that have to do with anything? What, I like blue and white? Get out of here.
All right. You smell like cheddar cheese. That's what it
is. I'm not even going to go there. Last team, the Seattle Seawolves. And this was a team that gained a lot of popularity because of their success early on in the MLR. They were one of the original founding teams. They won both the inaugural season and the year after that, so won back-to-back. And we were talking earlier about how you guys don't really like the teams kind of incorporating their colors across all their teams. I love this. The Seattle Seawolves, the Vancouver Canucks, the Seattle Seahawks, they are all wearing black, green, and white, and I love it. I love it. Here.
We got the Seattle Kraken now.
Oh, sorry, not the Seattle Canucks. True. Fair enough. But before on the West Coast, Vancouver Canucks, they were trying to tear. Pretty close. Yeah, I completely forgot about the Kraken. But I love
right over my head.
I love when they incorporate the logos. Yeah, the Seattle Kraken. I should bring up a logo of that, but they follow this same colors too.
Colorado played them last night.
Here's the home jerseys
for you guys.
Here's the home jerseys, I believe. I'm not sure. I think all those lines have text in them. I'm not sure what the text is, but I'm not sure, Vandy, if you can see the two stars that are above the logo. But since they're there, we'll explain them to you. A lot of European teams like to do this in soccer, and I know teams in rugby like to do this as well. I have a jersey behind me here, a Leinster jersey when they won the European Championship, and they have stars above their logo. And essentially, the stars mean every time you win a championship in a league, you put a star. So they've won 2 championships. They put a star. I'd be interested to see whether or not the Giltinis follow suit and they put a star along their jersey as well. But here's their away ones. The green, you got the Seattle skyline in there as well. Here's an examples of some guys wearing them.
Man, they look worse on a person, actually.
Just so we know, because I'd like to keep the ties with you, Vandy, at least the NFL, Canada's very own Luke Wilson and former tight end for the Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, he plays rugby?
He doesn't play rugby. There was inklings about him maybe joining the Seahawks after he retired from football. This is when he did then put on a jersey and posted a social media picture for the Seattle Seahawks, who posted this on their socials. But there hasn't been any inklings of him actually playing with them. But he is an avid supporter of the MLR. He has been seen at Toronto Arrows games supporting them. So we'll see. But hey, here's him in a rugby jersey for you listeners out there. It is Luke Wilson, former tight end of the Seattle Seahawks, wearing a Seattle Seawolves jersey. I thought that was
me over like 5 years ago.
Yeah, I guess we'll see whether or not he does the same if he ever joins the MLR. But Vandy, with the last team there, Seattle Seawolves, where are they going?
Where's Seattle going? They weren't terrible. You know what? They were solid. And then I seen that secondary jersey on a person. They're meh now. Sorry.
They're meh.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
The
even
concept
Seawolves jersey.
I know. I liked it until you put it on a person.
You don't like these ones. You don't like those.
Next
right?
ones.
You don't like those. They're too green for you. All right. And then just last, you didn't put Rugby Atlanta in any category. Where are you putting them?
Switch with them again.
Switch them with the AG. So pop them there. All right. So here's our final, I guess, standings. Vandy, do you want to make any last changes before I announce it to the listeners?
Yeah, put AG down there.
AG. All right. After or before San Diego?
You know what? Chargers threw some clout at the Chiefs the other week, and you guys didn't even make playoffs. Get them out of here. Last, worst. Blech.
Wow. I feel like the logo is a big part of that because it's so simple. But
the name,
I don't know.
Honestly, was everything, really.
You don't like Legion? It's kind of random for you. Is that what it is?
I just like San Diego.
Legion's better than the Giltinis.
Well, that's just bias, man. Why are you what if the viewers, and I will mention this to the viewers. I don't think I've mentioned this yet.
Okay.
Vandy will not be picking his favorite team. It will be you, the viewers, and you, the listeners. So if all of you want to vote for him to be a fan of San Diego Legion, I want you guys to do that so he has to root for the team he doesn't like the look of. But yes, I will be leaving it to the people. The people will choose who Vandy's favorite team is moving forward. And
they're going to pick San Diego down.
And I will buy Vandy whatever jersey that the people pick to be his favorite team. And if it ends up being the San Diego Legion jersey or even the Austin Gilgronis jersey that he doesn't like, doesn't matter. He's going to have to be a fan of them. So we're going to see. But is this your final ranking, Vandy?
About the process here.
I'm going to take it as that is the final logo. So Vandy's favorite logo, branding, everything over, team jerseys, how it looks on people, how it looks in concept is the Old Glory DC. Are the people going to choose for the Old Glory DC to be his favorite team? Who knows? But we're about to find out. Here's their list. A lot of get out of here. I thought there was going to be actually a lot more solids and a few more dams, but you actually loaded that Met here a lot more than
I didn't want
you would.
But a lot of them were kind of under. When you had really good ones, like that was really the problem. They were really good, so then that affected the solid ones because it made a lot of them meh all of a sudden.
Yeah, you know what? I think this just means the team's got to step it up.
Yeah,
that's what Vandy's saying. Better step it up.
Well, interesting fact is the only 2022 jersey that I showed you was the Dallas Jackals. So there is opportunity for teams to switch up their jerseys maybe ahead of this season. And we'll see whether or not that turns the tide or changes your guys' opinion any more. But with that being said, we now got to get into a little quick recap. We're running short on time here, but we're just going to show you the standings here, Vandy, of last season. We'll show you the tri-scores. We'll go over a quick thing, and then we'll also talk about how the championship finished and just do a quick little recap of that before we end the show. And here is the standings compared to how they look on how you chose them. So Old Glory DC, your top, San Diego Legion, the bottom. Here are the standings for the MLR 2021 season. And like we mentioned earlier in the show, it was the LA Guiltinis that were absolutely cleaning up house. And the reason why they do that, Vandy, and you'll get to learn these players a lot more as we go through the season, is that the Guiltinis got 2 recent acquisitions overseas ahead of the 2022 season, that being Matt Gateau and Adam Ashley Cooper. Those 2 guys played heavy caps. Like, they're notable players for Australian rugby. And they came over to kind of have that last, rugby hurrah in the Americas while enjoying the lifestyle in LA. And then those additions, among other guys, really got them that top spot. But yeah, I mean, Old Glory DC, not too far down there, bud. We got around 8. So, a middle of the pack team. And then finishing last,
fantasy.
at least, is Houston SaberCats. So you like their logo and their jersey a little bit, but they weren't so good on the rugby pitch as much. But we're going to be breaking down this season next episode, in episode number 2, along with all the fantasy rankings. I will have all of the fantasy stats statted out by next show. So we're going to go through who the top players were, who the top teams were, who the top set pieces were, maybe start trying to formulate some strategies on how to approach a fantasy rugby season. Should be pretty interesting. And Matt, now we're going to go more heavily lean on you here as we start to talk about this final that we're able to see. It was the Guiltinis beating Rugby Atlanta in that final, 31-17. The score kind of shows that it was maybe a little bit closer than it actually was, but I think from 0 to 80, it was really just the LA Guiltinis dominating the whole time. Rugby Atlanta really never garnered any scoring chances, and when they got close, the Guiltinis were able to create a turnover at some point, flipping it back the other way.
Yeah, I was actually just rewatching some of the highlights the other day, and I mean, those highlights really say it all. There's about 7 minutes of LA Guiltini highlights and 1 minute of Rugby Atlanta highlights. And that basically sums up exactly how the game went. And I mean, the Guiltinis were just way too good. I mean, too much firepower against a Rugby Atlanta team that didn't have enough talent to be able to really get that championship. And, I won't be surprised if the Guiltinis make another run again, because they've got another great squad.
Yeah, it should be interesting. That's what I took away from it. And Vandy, you're probably hearing from this that the Guiltinis are probably favorites heading into next season, so you can keep that in mind.
Oh, I'm looking at all that. Don't you worry.
Basically, for me, for a final, as much as lopsided it was still a pretty exciting game, and that's just a fan of the MLR. That's what I wanted to see. So it was pretty exciting back and forth. The thing that stood out to me was that. And it's not a knock on the MLR, but the final was played at the Los Angeles Coliseum, and you could see, compared to what an NFL game would fill out in terms of those seats, how far MLR has to go in terms of growing. Even to get to like a quarter of that, there's still a lot of growth for the MLR, which I'm really excited about. And then my last point being that, yeah, the Guiltinis are probably the favorite going into next season, but we'll see how that shifts. And it might not be the same for fantasy, right? I remember we're also trying to talk about all of this through the lens of fantasy rugby. The best, and I want to remind everyone, just like fantasy football, just like fantasy hockey, just like most fantasy sports out there, the best fantasy player is not always the best player. That makes any sense. Vandy, you could probably speak to that a lot. It doesn't mean if you're the best player on the field from a game standpoint, that might not show up on the stat line, which ultimately won't show up on the fantasy stat line. So we'll have to take that into consideration as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, all right. So as we start to slowly wrap up the show, we got 2 segments left here. This is one that I've been waiting for Vandy and Matt to both hear. And that is a segment that we're going to have throughout the entirety of this season. And that's going to be Commissioner Yee's 3 thoughts. Yeah.
Hear ye, hear ye.
Oh,
hear
no.
Ye, hear ye.
Yep, hear ye. It's Commissioner Yee's 3 thoughts. And obviously we don't have a fantasy league to talk about that's established yet, but this is going to be the moment in time where I'm going to give you my tidbits on how the league is going, give you an update on the standings, give you an update on the waiver wire pickups and things like that, just to keep all the league members up to date. So if you can't listen to the entire podcast, you can at least listen to this 1 or 2 minute segment and get a general idea about how the league is operating. Well, my 3 thoughts for today, and I will start by, before I start going into it, I don't think I've ever spent so much time searching up town criers on YouTube to get that hear ye thing. I was going all over the place. And then it ultimately ended up being Homer Simpson who comes through when he becomes a town crier on that episode. He nailed it. And that's all I needed. I just needed Homer Simpson. So let's get into my 3.
Perfectly.
Let's get into these 3 thoughts. So I think my 3 thoughts are pretty simple here. I'm just going to reiterate the goal of what we're trying to do here, guys. We're just trying to get the fantasy rugby conversation going. We're just trying to keep it engaging. For when an actual platform comes along, we will be ready. Our goal here is not to create a fantasy platform that a bunch of people can use. Our goal here is just to generate interest on fantasy rugby, because there's no way as a lone person and you two here being able to stat everything that we can and be able to support multiple people. We'll start it off with 1 league and see where that goes. And then that ultimately leads me to my last thought, is that we want you to join. 5 lucky members out there on the Reddit community are going to join this league, and we want to get you involved. We want a wide variety of different types of fans. We're hoping to fill those last 5 spots with fans from different teams. And ultimately, we just want you to be passionate about fantasy rugby as we are, because there's going to be bumps in the road. There's going to be challenges. There's going to be times where, certain rules don't make sense and we're going to have to make adjustments. So it's just going to have to require a little bit of patience and a little bit of understanding from everyone. But if we're passionate about fantasy rugby, I think we'll all, and we want it that bad. That's the big thing. I think we all want it that bad that I think we'll all take a little bit of patience before to get the better quality here in a fantasy rugby. And as commissioner of many leagues, I'll do my best to interject that same commissioner mentality with this Fantasy Ruckers League, and that is Commissioner Yee's 3 thoughts. So that's it for that. Oh yeah, how'd you guys like that drop?
That was great.
Beautiful.
It took me way longer than expected.
Beautiful.
And as we close out the show, the last thing we have here, Vandy, do you have a hot mic topic that you want to talk about?
No, but I can cook one up real quick. Okay.
Here we go. Vandy's hot mic.
Go now?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, so if you do plan on joining this league, just let it be known that I will grind you down into dust. That dust will be ground so fine it will become diamonds. I will use those diamond dust, create a 1 diamond. And then I will give said diamond to your girlfriend. I will steal your girlfriend the championship money, and instead of giving that $100 to charity, I'm going to take her to the finest steakhouse around. And so if you're going to join, you lose money and your girlfriend. Just kidding. It's all for fun. It's all for charity. It's going to be a blast. It's going to be a good year. Kamishi, he's great guy, great commish. And I think it's going to be a blast. And, and let's have a blast.
And you know what? Since I was able to get an open mic, Vandy was able to get an open mic. Do you want to close out the show with anything here? Any advice? You had some pretty good strategies early on. I don't know. Vandy went pretty hot there with the chirps. I don't know if you want to take that same strategy.
You know what? No advice. No advice on fantasy, because I'm not giving away my thoughts and strategy. But I do have one hot take, and that is Mr. Gilchrist. Please stop naming teams after yourself. That is enough.
It's not after himself. It's after cocktails that are named after himself.
We
Same
get it.
Difference.
You're loaded. You're loaded, man. And
you
I'm
are
proud
drinking
of
too
you.
many Giltinis. You need to stop and start making better jerseys and better team names. And that's it from me.
I don't know. I might go to next time I'm in Texas, I might go to a bar and ask for a Gilgroni. We'll see. But that will do it here for the Fantasy Rucker Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know it was a little bit longer winded of an episode. We're going to try to keep these down to about an hour. We just had so much to cover, and I was so excited to reveal Vandy his favorite teams, or what could be his favorite teams. Now he knows all the teams. Now he knows all the logos. He knows the interesting tidbits behind him, what he likes and doesn't like. And now it's time for him to really dive into this league and see what he can can come up with terms of a fantasy strategy heading into next week. We're going to talk to Vandy about that. Matt's got a little bit of an edge. He knows this game in and out, so we'll see whether or not it is going to play an advantage. That's it, guys. That's all the fantasy rugby that we have to talk about. Until next time, make sure to follow us at the Fantasy Ruckers on all the social media sites. Listen to us on anywhere that you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. Thanks, guys, and we'll be back next week.
Thank you.
Peace out.
You've been listening to the Fantasy Ruckers Show, bringing fantasy rugby to the masses, covering everything rugby from the MLR and beyond. We hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review, and be sure to tell all your friends. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, connect with us on social media at the Fantasy Ruckers. Till next time, this is the Fantasy Ruckers Show, signing off.